At 37, my husband cheated on me. I married him right after college. It's been a full 15 years now. Everyone said my life was happy enough. My husband was a high-flying corporate executive on the outside, and at home, he covered all household expenses and chores, better than many men. I felt I should just swallow this bitterness. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Initially, I did plan to just endure it. The girl looked barely 20, while my husband Marcus Miller had just turned 38 this year. Our son was already in high school. Until the girl found me, tears streaming down her face, clutching her dress corner and begging me to step aside. Her eyes were wet, just like mine when I was madly in love all those years ago. In the mirror, my own laugh lines had subtly deepened, and the dark circles from late nights with our child never seemed to fade. Eleanor, I truly love him. Please, let us be together. I casually brushed her off. If you get a divorce, what do you plan to do? Chloe Davis's eyes lit up, her cheeks flushing. We're going to Iceland to see the northern lights, then have a daughter. Marcus said he always wanted a sweet little girl. Marcus Miller wanted a daughter? But he was the one who said he was content with just me and our son, and that he never wanted me to experience the pain of childbirth again. Turns out, his vows had long since moldered with time. I lost my mood for teasing and spoke flatly, I'm just messing with you. Marcus Miller and I have been married for 15 years, our careers and family are intertwined. Divorce isn't an option. Instead of fantasizing about the future, you should plan for yourself. Back home, Marcus Miller was leaning on the sofa, working. Time seemed to have been especially kind to him, sharp in his suit, he exuded mature charm. Hearing the door open, he didn't even look up, continuing to type on his keyboard. T.S. was our long-standing understanding. As long as I didn't speak first, he'd pretend nothing had happened. I tied on my apron and quickly prepared a home-cooked meal. Marcus Miller closed his laptop and sat at the dining table. Our son said there's a school sports event next week, and he wants you to go cheer him on. Okay. Robert Hayes's blood pressure has been unstable recently. We need to take him for a follow-up at the hospital. You arrange the time. The living room chandelier needs replacing. Should I find someone to fix it? Whatever. Chloe Davis came to see me. He finally looked up, his brows furrowed, his eyes filled with impatience. And? His mistress came to my door, and he was so dismissive about it. Even though I'd always been patient, I gripped my fork tightly at that moment. Marcus Miller, we're married. You're cheating. He suddenly slammed his fork down on the table and said in a deep voice, Eleanor Miller, don't make it sound so ugly. Chloe Davis is young and naive, there's nothing going on between us. Don't make assumptions. Young? In her 20s and still naive? I had ridiculously overestimated his bottom line. The meal tasted like ash. I thought there would be a standoff for a while. But the next day, I came home early from a business trip and opened the door to find Chloe Davis curled up on the sofa. She was wearing my new silk nightgown, looking up as Marcus Miller fed her strawberries. Marcus, the strawberries you feed me are so sweet, you're such a charmer, eat more. Watching those bright red strawberries, my throat tightened. I used to love strawberries, and he'd feed them to me like that, one by one. Now, that tenderness was reserved for someone else. Chloe Davis giggled, her pale legs swinging back and forth. I clearly saw Marcus Miller's eyes darken, and he pulled her into his embrace. Just before they kissed, I pushed the door open and walked in. Chloe Davis didn't hide, instead, she provocative. Ly curved her lips. Eleanor, fancy meeting you again. My tummy hurt just now, and Marcus was comforting me. You're not mad, are you? She then nuzzled into Marcus Miller's embrace, his Adam's apple bobbed, and a flicker of warning crossed his eyes. I was always dignified and composed, but at that moment, I didn't know how to react. Should I fight like a madwoman? Or tear off his hypocritical mask? It seemed neither would do any good. Perhaps divorce was the only release. The marital assets we'd accumulated over the years would be enough for my son and me to start anew. After a divorce, I could reclaim my lost self, and maybe even find a second spring, just like him. With that thought, I put down my suitcase and looked at Marcus Miller, saying softly but firmly, let's get a divorce. Marcus Miller disagreed, his reason being that he hadn't committed any fundamental wrong. He even rallied relatives and friends to persuade me. My in-laws, whom I'd cared for 20 years, said he hadn't physically cheated, so I should just bear with it. They would then intervene and make him transfer 5% of the company shares to me. Marcus Miller and my mutual friend said the girl was only after his money, and if I left, wouldn't that be exactly what she wanted? Marcus Miller's business was booming, and his net worth was soaring. Only a fool would hand over such wealth to someone else at this point. My best friend was also going through a divorce recently. Her husband had cheated too. The only difference between us was that her husband was broke and ugly. She sighed, advising me to just let it go. Every man with a pulse cheats, she said. At least Marcus Miller has money. You see, it seemed money had become a get-out-of-jail-free card, absolving all sins in a marriage. I didn't say a word, continuing to prepare my divorce papers. Robert Hayes heard the news and came over too. The moment he walked in, he slapped me across the face. His face was scarlet with anger. What man doesn't entertain clients? What's wrong with having a woman or two? Hasn't he been good to you for 15 years? Do you really want a messy divorce? You're almost 40 now, who would want you if you left him? He looked radiant, a sign Sarah Hayes was taking good care of him, and his new Leo Hayes was well behaved. Naturally, he wasn't concerned about my feelings. The last one to try and persuade me was my middle school son. When he came back, I instinctively reached out to hug him. But he pushed me away. Why do you have to divorce Dad? I, who usually stood my ground in front of everyone, suddenly flinched. Your dad has another woman, and Mom doesn't want to live with him anymore. You mean Chloe Davis? Dad said she's just a friend. My son looked at me impatiently, his expression identical to Marcus Miller's. Mom, you've lived a sheltered life for half your life. Can you really handle being divorced? If you can't get used to it, I won't be responsible for you. Honestly, before he came back, I always thought that at the very least, this child I had raised by hand would give me a hug. He would angrily confront his father, ask why he hurt his mother, and then stand by me, firmly cutting ties with the cheating man. To my surprise, the moment he returned, he erupted in anger at me, then stormed upstairs. Bang! The door slammed so hard it shook the entire house, and my soul trembled with it. Eleanor Miller, how did you let yourself fall so low? That evening, while I was showering, Marcus Miller entered the bathroom, something he hadn't done in a long time. It had been a year since our last intimacy. When he came in, his gaze was cold. But his hands didn't stop, moving over me with practiced familiarity. Don't be angry, tomorrow, I'll send her away. She won't appear before you again. My body slowly warmed, but my heart grew colder. I closed my eyes, letting tears mix with water droplets and slide down my face. Marcus Miller. Yes, did you sleep with her? The answer was self-evident, and anger surged within me. You really disgust me. Marcus Miller grew furious and shoved me away. A sharp pain shot through my ankle. Before I could look, he gripped my chin and dragged me to the mirror. I disgust you? What about you? Don't you disgust yourself? Look at your hair, like a dog chewed it. Where's the femininity? Look at your chest, it's sagging down to your belly. And your face, covered in spots that make me lose my appetite. Eleanor Miller, do you even look like a woman anymore? He crudely squeezed my breast, his eyes icy. We'll continue like this, and I promise you a lifetime of comfort and security. But if you divorce me, you'll wish you were dead. Even long after Marcus Miller left, I was still trembling. I couldn't believe the man I'd loved for 20 years could say such things. Or had he changed long ago, and I was simply blind to it? I clenched my hands tightly, letting blood well into my palms. The sharp pain brought a terrifying clarity to my mind. Marcus Miller, do you think I have no recourse against you? That you can do whatever you want? Just you wait. I am getting this divorce. The next day, when I came downstairs, Marcus Miller had uncharacteristically cooked a meal. Ethan Miller was eating and, seeing me, lowered his head again, clearly unwilling to acknowledge me. He, on the other hand, played the good guy, softly coaxing our son. We agreed yesterday that we'd forgive Mom. It was only then that Ethan Miller reluctantly mumbled, Mom, Ethan was tired from the car ride yesterday. Come eat quickly, I made you the sandwiches you like. His eyes met mine, a look of undisguised triumph in them. I didn't speak. A moment later, the doorbell rang, and Maria, the housekeeper, ushered Chloe Davis in. Good morning, Mrs. Miller, I'm here to deliver some documents to Mr. Miller. They brazenly shook hands. Ethan didn't seem to mind and even invite Chloe Davis to eat. Chloe Davis hesitated for a moment, then turned and sat in my usual seat. As if to spite me, Ethan placed my breakfast in front of her. He also poured her a glass of the orange juice I usually enjoyed. Chloe Davis, too, put all her effort into trying to win over Ethan. Oh, Ethan, you're so nice. I thought you'd dislike me just like Mrs. Miller. My mom is going through a tough phase lately, all paranoid. She insists you and Robert Hayes are having an affair. Just ignore her. By the end of the meal, the two had surprisingly become good friends. From the moment Ethan said I was paranoid, I stopped listening and walked out of the house. I needed to find someone, an old classmate I hadn't seen in over 10 years. My first love, Alex Reed, the renowned attorney. For at the coffee shop, I told Alex Reed I wanted a divorce. He snorted, "You'd really let him go?" For someone his age, he still had such a foul temper. If he'd been a little gentler back then, why would I have broken up with him? Too lazy to argue with the stubborn mule, I pulled a card from my bag. I looked into it. "Your market rate is $1 million. Here's $500,000, I'll pay the other half after the divorce. This is a business transaction, no emotions involved." Alex Reed toyed with the card, then tucked it into his pocket. "Alright, sugar mama." On the way back, he offered to drive me. Compared to my complete family, he'd had a much harder life over the years. I heard his wife had passed away from illness a few years ago, and they had no children. He simply poured all his energy into his work, and his career flourished, making him a renowned attorney in Riverbend City. Alex Reed's car was a flashy Maserati, roaring loudly as it drove. I couldn't help but frown. At your age, why do you still like such flamboyant things? I wondered how his wife ever fell for him. Alex Reed raised an eyebrow. "You used to love this kind of stuff, remember?" That choked me up. In my ties, I certainly did like flashy things. But who in their right mind, nearing 40, still has the energy for that? He really had boundless energy. Too tired to say more, I transferred him $300 after getting out of the car. Cab fare, alright, sugar mama. Even with his flashy car, Alex Reed taught me a lot about preparing for a divorce. Following his guidance, I managed to uncover Marcus Miller's bank account details and hired a private investigator to photograph the address of his secret love nest. It was a premarital property I'd bought. We lived there during our courtship and the first few years of our marriage. Later, after Ethan Miller was born, we hired a nanny, and the house became too small, so we moved to our current mansion. I hadn't visited in years. Marcus Miller had actually stashed her there? I found the key, chose a day they weren't there, and opened the apartment door. Nothing inside had changed, except for some added clutter. It was clear Chloe Davis really wanted to marry Marcus Miller. Behind the sofa, their photo hung. By the dining table, there was a knitted doll she'd handmade. In the kitchen, a rich soup was kept warm. If their photo pose hadn't been identical to mine from years ago. If the doll she knitted wasn't my favorite orange-themed one. If the soup she made wasn't my exclusive recipe, developed for Marcus Miller's stomach condition. Then I probably would have applauded the loving illicit couple. But I had only ever given that soup recipe to my mother-in-law. Which meant, besides me, only she knew it. Yet now it was in Chloe Davis's apartment. The continuous betrayals made me wonder if I was truly such a failure that everyone around me chose to hurt me without hesitation. As emotions surged, the door suddenly opened. Chloe Davis walked in, beaming. She turned and threw herself into Marcus Miller's arms. "It's wonderful. Marcus, I'm finally going to have your daughter," Marcus Miller lovingly stroked her face, then looked up, his eyes meeting mine. It was the first time I'd seen panic on Marcus Miller's face. He probably never imagined he'd see me here. But I had grown calm, and took out my phone to start recording. Seeing this, he tried to snatch it away, but I stopped him. "Marcus Miller, think carefully. This place has surveillance cameras. If I retrieve the footage, your reputations will be ruined." Marcus Miller took a sharp breath. Having navigated the business world for years, he was accustomed to controlling everything. Faced with my defiance, he instinctively felt irritated. "Eleanor Miller, stop making a scene and go home. I want a divorce." "I won't divorce you. Give up, I'm getting a divorce. We'll officially tie the knot tomorrow, or you can prepare to go viral. Why are you making such a fuss? Haven't you thought about Robert Hayes, about my parents, about our son?" When he mentioned Ethan Miller, I finally broke down. I picked up a vase and smashed it to the floor. "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Don't you dare mention them." I rushed over and slapped him hard across the face. "You bastard! You didn't think about them when you cheated, you didn't think about them when you had a child with another woman, but now that I've caught you red-handed, you want me to think about them? You're a damn master of double standards, always finding ways to excuse yourself. You're just an old pervert who can't keep it in his pants, and after disgusting me, you want to shut me up? I'm telling you, in your dreams. Either you divorce me tomorrow, or we'll go down in flames in a divorce court. You choose." I went straight to Alex Reed's law firm. He happened to be free, found me an office, and poured me a glass of water. "What happened? You're so angry, don't even ask." "I ran into his mistress, she's pregnant." What are you thinking now? At that, my temper flared. What can I think? What good would thinking do now? Alex Reed Pow said, then pushed the glass of water closer to me. That small gesture immediately extinguished my anger. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have taken it out on you just now. He shrugged. No problem. The client is always right. Alex Reed said this situation was very advantageous for me. I had photos of the apartment, and the fact that Marcus Miller had a child with someone else was a clear case of de facto marriage, which would be more favorable for subsequent asset division. My mind felt numb, I couldn't quite grasp what I was feeling. When I left the law firm, he offered to drive me, but I declined. I wanted to walk alone for a bit. I walked along the park for 2 or 3 hours. It was Friday afternoon, with only a few people strolling around. There was a young couple, seemingly deeply in love. While the guy was taking pictures of the girl, he'd lean in to kiss her. Once upon a time, Marcus Miller and I were just as affectionate. We met on campus. We started dating in high school and were the recognized campus couple in college. The Miller family was well off. Marcus Miller was handsome and did well in school. Countless girls wanted to steal him from me. But Marcus Miller never wavered. He not only gave me complete security but also proposed to me in our sophomore year. In fairy tales, princes and princesses always end up walking down the aisle together. So I never knew that, more difficult than finding your soulmate, was staying together for a lifetime. After graduation, Marcus Miller took over the family business and quickly increased profits tenfold. He traveled frequently. On the day our child was born, he was still out signing contracts. My in-laws hoped for both a son and a daughter. After our son was born, they subtly and not so subtly urged me countless times, but Marcus Miller always fended them off. Only because he was afraid I'd face postpartum hemorrhage again. He held me high in his hands, and I rested safely in my sheltered life. Yet I never imagined. The one holding me up had grown impatient, not even giving me time to react. Actually, Chloe Davis wasn't the first woman to appear, but she was the first Marcus Miller allowed to show her face in front of me. He was testing my limits, trying to find my bottom line for this marriage. Or perhaps, his ultimate hope was to have the best of both worlds. When I got home, my in-laws were there, happily chatting with my son. Chloe Davis was in the center, smiling sweetly. Marcus Miller looked up and saw me. The red marks were still on his face, and his expression wasn't as happy as I'd expected. Because he also saw the resolute expression on my face. We'd been married for 15 years, we didn't need to speak to understand each other. He suddenly stiffened his face and told Chloe Davis, "You should go home for now." The air instantly chilled. Chloe Davis was stunned. "Why, just go when I tell you to." In the Miller residence, economic status dictated everything, and Marcus Miller's word was practically his final word. My in-laws remained silent throughout, not understanding why he had suddenly changed his demeanor. My mother-in-law gave me a dissatisfied look. Marcus Miller called the driver, and Chloe Davis left, glancing back repeatedly. Ethan Miller grew anxious and yelled at me, "Mom, what's gotten into you now? Why are you making Chloe Davis leave? She came to hang out with me, she's my friend." For the first time, I didn't hold back, sneering, "You're friends with your dad's mistress? It's all a misunderstanding, I told you, there's nothing between them. Chloe Davis is pregnant with your dad's baby." Ethan Miller was stunned. "Dad, is this true?" Marcus Miller sent everyone away, then sat opposite me at the dining table. "I don't understand, Eleanor Miller, why you have to make such a scene." He irritably scratched his head. "I told you, Chloe Davis won't affect your status. Once the baby is born, you'll be its mother. Our relationship won't change." I looked at him. How could anyone in this world say such things with a straight face? I laughed in anger, asking him directly. Marcus Miller slammed his hand on the table. "Why can't things be this way in this world? Look at Mr. Johnson, he's 60, and he still has a woman having his son. His wife even went to take care of her during postpartum recovery. Look at Director Thompson, he has an apartment in Hong Kong with over a dozen mistresses waiting for him. What's wrong with me? I just wanted a daughter to make my parents happy. If you weren't unhealthy, why would I have looked outside? Eleanor Miller, be honest with yourself, haven't I been good to you all these years? Your mother is dead, and Robert Hayes only cares about Sarah Hayes and Leo Hayes. I used money to make them treat you respectfully. Every time you went back home, flaunting your status, wasn't I the one backing you up? Every time there was a class reunion, you were decked out in gold and silver, spending lavishly. All those people envied and flattered you. Do you think it was because you were so amazing? They were sucking up to Marcus Miller. My mother-in-law pressured me every year to have another child, But I always said no, Ethan Miller was enough. Don't you think I wanted another child? That's enough. Just like your best friend said, don't be ungrateful. He yelled louder and louder, his face eventually contorted with indignation, as if I were the one at fault in this entire affair. I laughed again, fueled by anger. It turns out, when people are extremely furious, they really do laugh. I didn't even know whether to curse his callousness or laugh at my own naivety. Our 15 years of what I thought was a perfect and loving marriage, to him, was nothing more than charity. I looked up at him. His appearance hadn't changed much from before, but now, when I looked, he just seemed repulsive. I didn't want to argue about right or wrong in an adulterous marriage. At this point, blame no longer mattered. What was most important was that I get what I deserved, and then divorce. Standing up, I pulled some documents from my bag. Since you're so unhappy with me, I suppose you won't object to a divorce. Here are the divorce papers, please sign them. Marcus Miller stared at me in disbelief. I've said all this, and you still want a divorce? Yes, I do. Fine, don't regret it. He skimmed through it quickly, then, with a grand gesture, signed, ending our 15 years of marriage. 8 After the 30-day cooling-off period, the first thing I did was move out of the Miller residence. After packing up over a dozen boxes, most of them contained gifts Marcus Miller had given me, along with some haute couture gowns. It suddenly dawned on me that I had been too complacent all these years. I deserved to be discarded. After some thought, I found a second-hand luxury store and had them take everything to be sold online at a loss. The money earned would be donated to the Red Cross. The second thing was to rent an apartment and find a job. This wasn't too difficult for me. Although we had a nanny, I had always been hands-on with many things concerning Marcus Miller and Ethan Miller. I found a well-furnished one-bedroom apartment and moved in. As for work, before I could even properly think about it, Alex Reed sent me an invitation. He wanted me to work as an administrative assistant at his law firm. I didn't act coy. Having been out of the workforce for too long, I definitely needed a transitional job. After a brief break, I started working at Alex Reed's law firm. Alex Reed's firm had about 200 employees, with 7 or 8 administrative assistants alone. My role was in charge of the company's welfare and incentive programs. The work wasn't complicated, and the salary wasn't high, 5,000 yuan. Back then, a single bag I bought cost more than that. But this was the first money I earned with my own hands. After not long, Alex Reed asked if I was willing to pick up my law career again. After graduating college, Marcus Miller was busy with work, and our elderly relatives weren't well, so I didn't look for a job and focused on taking care of them at home. Later, his income grew higher and higher, and he gave me the money. He told me there was no need for me to suffer, plus I had a daughter, and I didn't want to be separated from her to go to work. Looking back now, one wrong step led to another. When I became disconnected from society, an easily readable woman, being discarded by my husband became an inevitability. I accepted Alex Reed's suggestion, bought a pile of books, and studied relentlessly, preparing for the bar exam. During this time, Ethan Miller once tried to reach out, saying he wanted to visit me, but I refused. My sheltered life had collapsed, breaking my spirit. It was time for my son to experience the storms of life. Even if he stumbled, it wouldn't matter, Mom would try to build a strong refuge for him again. But I was well aware of everything happening at home. Maria, the housekeeper, had been with me for 20 years and told me everything that was happening at home. Chloe Davis moved in the day after I left, acting like the lady of the house. She was young, pampered by Marcus Miller, and had even quit school, intent on becoming a rich wife. Ethan Miller finally realized Chloe Davis's ambitious scheme, but unfortunately, Chloe Davis was pregnant, and his in-laws protected her like gold. Several times, my mother-in-law cursed Ethan Miller terribly, calling him a worthless girl and saying he'd end the family name. She angered Ethan Miller so much that he ran away from home. Marcus Miller didn't go looking for him and even cut off his credit card. In the end, Ethan Miller had to sheepishly return home and apologize to Chloe Davis. That same evening, she called me, crying hysterically. She yelled at me, "What kind of mother are you? Only thinking of yourself. That's 6. Zen has moved into our home, why don't you do something about it? Dad has so much money, are you just going to hand it all over to her? Aren't you going to think about me?" I simply replied flatly, "I'm studying for the bar exam," and hung up. Ethan Miller blocked me and returned to school early. I paid no attention to outside matters. My thick study materials were practically worn out from use. Alex Reed even joked that I looked exactly like I did when I was studying 20 years ago. Finally, one autumn day, I walked into the testing center. 9 on the same day I received my certificate, I got a call from my son. He was sobbing uncontrollably, unable to speak a single word. Although I had been distant with him for a while, he was still my flesh and blood. I rushed to go to his school. Alex Reed found out and offered to drive me. So we drove to Ethan Miller's school overnight. Only when we arrived did we learn that the girl Ethan Miller liked had accepted his confession but then started dating another boy. Ethan Miller had always had an easy life, so he had never experienced such a slight before. He felt like his world had fallen apart. I wiped his tears. Do you know who the other boy is? Ethan Miller shook his head. No, I just know he's from our school. I told Alex Reed to take him back to the hotel, and I drove to my son's school myself. Following the photo he'd given me, I waited at the school gate for the girl to appear. Fortunately, fate was on my side. Before long, the girl got out of a Mercedes-Benz. She even walked around to the driver's side and said something to the driver. After the girl finished speaking and left, I looked up and was stunned. The person was wearing sunglasses and a mask, but I recognized her instantly. It was Chloe Davis? Even though these past days had been tumultuous, I still felt a dizzying shock. At the hotel, Alex Reed listened to what I said, looked at the photos, and then suddenly asked, could this be a coordinated effort between them? One dating Ethan Miller, the other seducing Marcus Miller. I called my son, intending to talk to him. Ethan Miller's eyes and nose were red. He softly said, "Mom." Gone was his usual haughty attitude. Seeing his wronged expression, my heart still ached, and I hugged him tight. It's okay, Mom's here. Don't be afraid. He let out a wail, crying, "Mom, I'm sorry. A knife doesn't hurt until it's in your own flesh." After everything, my son finally understood how painful betrayal was. My upbringing for him had always been one of nurturing and guidance. But the Miller family's wealth brought too many flattering voices, and without strong resolve, it was easy to get lost. Fortunately, life had given him a resounding slap, bringing him back to his senses in time. And fortunately, I had held back and not shielded him from that slap. Ethan Miller told me about the girl. He said she was a scholarship student, an orphan raised by various people, and very bright. She had once helped him out in class, and after spending more time together, they developed feelings and started dating. I asked if he had revealed anything about our family. Ethan Miller nodded. He said that to comfort her, he had told her many things about our family, including that his parents only had one son, and the Miller family's assets would all be hers someday. My foolish son, he didn't even realize he'd invited a wolf into the house. I was frustrated with his ignorance and wanted to scold him. As I raised my hand, Ethan Miller flinched. He knew I was angry. Alex Reed said, "Live and learn, he'll know better next time." I glared at him. Spoiling a child is like killing them. What if he makes such a mistake again in the future? Alex Reed fully played the peacemaker. He won't. Ethan knows he made a mistake, doesn't he? Ethan Miller immediately nodded, then looked at me ingratiatingly. This man. He doesn't even have children, yet he talks as if he knows everything. I had no where to vent my frustration, so where no one could see, I gave him a hard pinch. I hired a private detective to investigate the girl's meeting with Chloe Davis. The investigation uncovered a huge problem. Even Chloe Davis's unborn child had an issue. 10 According to the private hospital's medical records, Chloe Davis's baby was already 6 months along. However, 6 months ago, Marcus Miller was on a business trip abroad, and I was with him. In other words, Chloe Davis was pulling a bait and switch. A month later, Ethan Miller took leave and returned to the Miller residence. The moment he walked in, he nearly tripped over the baby products scattered everywhere. My mother-in-law, beaming, was unwrapping a gold bracelet and putting it on Chloe Davis's wrist. Chloe Davis, feigning innocence, said, "Ethan, you're back at a good time. Your dad and I are having our engagement party next week. Which ring do you think looks better?" Ethan rolled his eyes and went upstairs. As I had instructed, he went to the study, grabbed something, and left. When he came downstairs, Marcus Miller had returned. They met face to face, and Ethan Miller turned his head, about to leave. Marcus Miller pulled him back. "What? You see your dad and don't even say hello?" Ethan Miller retorted unhappily, "Aren't you only thinking about her baby? Why bother with me? Who taught you to talk like that? I'm your father." "Oh, and so?" His passive resistance made Marcus Miller choke a little. For some reason, he felt there was a hint of pity in his son's gaze. This look made him uncomfortable, but he couldn't pinpoint why. Just as he was about to ask again, Chloe Davis suddenly called out from inside, saying the baby was kicking her and he should come quickly. Marcus Miller was instantly distracted and turned into the room. In his haste, he didn't notice the briefcase and suitcase his son was carrying. That evening, Ethan Miller and I lay in bed, chatting. He asked what I planned to do to his father. I didn't want my child to have a psychological shadow regarding marriage, so I told him I wouldn't go after his father. On the contrary, I wanted to save him. Ethan Miller propped himself up. Save him? Why, for you, even though mom and dad are separated, you are your father's child, with legal inheritance rights. I can't just stand by and watch others manipulate him, leaving you with nothing. He seemed dissatisfied with this answer. If you think that way, why were you so determined to get a divorce in the first place? I stroked his innocent eyes, those dark eyes that resembled Marcus Miller's the most. Because I love myself the most, I wasn't willing to be wronged in love. But my second greatest love is you, and I will do everything I can to protect my son's rights. Mom is a selfish mother, she puts her own feelings first. In the future, Mom doesn't want you to give up yourself for a child or for money, okay? Ethan Miller nodded. Mom, I'm sorry for how I treated you back then, it's okay. Mom loves you. 11 Soon, it was time for Marcus Miller and Chloe Davis's engagement party. Many friends and relatives arrived, most with smiles that were either genuine or feigned, congratulating Marcus Miller on his double celebration. As the bride-to-be, Chloe Davis was undeniably pleased. I arrived with Ethan Miller. Marcus Miller saw me, and a flicker of astonishment crossed his eyes. These days, freed from caring for the elderly, I had the time and inclination to take care of myself. I wore my hair in long curls, used the assets from my divorce settlement for various aesthetic treatments and skincare, and my best friend had helped me pick out a sophisticated outfit before I left. Even Alex Reed had been somewhat captivated, let alone Marcus Miller. He walked over. You came to the celebration? Most people here had attended his wedding with me, and our 10 and 15-year anniversary parties. So, the moment I appeared, many exprès. Science turned speculative. I tilted my head, looking at him. To bring a gift, a health package, just for you. I handed him a manila envelope. Marcus Miller was about to take it, but Chloe Davis snatched it away. What is this, Eleanor? I smiled. Oh, his medical report. He had it done before our divorce, I forgot to give it to him. Under Marcus Miller's puzzled gaze, Chloe Davis opened the envelope. The report clearly stated that Marcus Miller's vasectomy reversal surgery had complications, temporarily leaving him infertile, and advised him to seek immediate medical attention. Chloe Davis's face drained of color, inch by inch, and her hands began to tremble. What do you mean? Marcus Miller saw it too. He couldn't help but frown, grabbing the medical report and beginning to read it carefully. The more he read, the darker his expression became, until his voice was hoarse. So, I can't have children at all? Then, whose baby is in your belly? Chloe Davis feigned ignorance. Yours, of course. This report is fake, impossible. Eleanor and I went for this medical report together. I can find out the results with a single phone call. She has no reason to lie to me. Are you saying I'm lying? Chloe Davis gritted her teeth, refusing to admit it. We did it 3 times that night, how could I not be pregnant? Maybe the doctor made a mistake, the baby in my belly is yours. Marcus Miller froze, his eyes growing colder. That night, we only did it once. Something came up at the company, and I went back to work overtime. He walked closer to Chloe Davis, step by step. The other 2 times, who were you with? I know. Ethan Miller added fuel to the fire, pulling out the photos I had found earlier. Chloe Davis was with this man the other 2 times. He threw down a stack of photos, all showing Chloe Davis going straight to a hotel with another man after her dates with Marcus Miller. Tucked in was also a medical report showing Chloe Davis was actually 32 weeks pregnant. My ex-mother-in-law, who had been standing there stunned for a long time, finally snapped back to reality. She rushed over furiously. You wretch! How dare you cheat on my son? The room erupted in chaos, and Ethan Miller, Alex Reed, and I seized the opportunity to slip away. 12 What happened next made headlines and became common knowledge throughout the city. Chloe Davis's baby was lost in the struggle. My ex-mother-in-law was so furious she was hospitalized, and with her history of stroke, her condition wasn't good. Marcus Miller's business wasn't significantly affected, but he became somewhat despondent and suspicious of any woman who approached him. He urgently wanted to mend his relationship with Ethan Miller. However, Ethan Miller was deeply affected by the incident, developing a strong aversion to marriage and men. She was determined to study relentlessly and dedicate her passion to her beloved scientific research career. How should I put it? Her intentions were good, but there was no rush to act on them. I wasn't in a hurry to persuade her out of getting bogged down like that. I've always believed that parents are a mirror to their children. If you genuinely love your life, put 100% effort into it, and show kindness to your child, they will surely absorb the positive aspects. During my time as a junior associate at the law firm, I worked diligently, striving to complete every task Alex Reed assigned me. Soon, I became the most outstanding among my cohort of junior associates. When I received the company's annual bonus, tears welled up in my eyes. It was the first time in my life I had delivered an achievement for myself through hard work. In the future, there would be more and more such achievements, each better than the last. After the annual dinner, Alex Reed confessed his feelings to me, but I rejected him. I patted his shoulder and said to talk some sense into him, "Boss, we're not getting any younger. Don't be so focused on romance, we should concentrate on making money." Alex Reed gritted his teeth. All right, you've rejected me again." But this time, he said it with a smile. Approaching our 40s, love was no longer our only choice, and we wouldn't easily obsess or despair over such an ephemeral thing. We continued to move forward with determination, aiming for grand ambitions. 13 As expected, Marcus Miller wanted to find me. We had been married for 15 years, nearly half of our lives. After being severely wounded by the schemes, he almost instinctively wanted to quickly get his life back on track. He waited for me at the company entrance, holding 99 roses and driving a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. At that moment, Alex Reed and I were animatedly discussing a case, talking a mile a minute. Marcus Miller approached, roses in hand. "Eleanor." Alex Reed, standing nearby, suddenly shivered. "Who's haunting us in broad daylight?" His words were truly sharp. I shot him a glance. Turning to Marcus Miller, I asked, "Mr. Miller, can I help you?" He uncomfortably glanced at Alex Reed before awkwardly saying, "I'd like to invite you to dinner." It must be uncomfortable for a man his age to humbly pursue a woman, especially for the lofty Chairman Miller. I looked at him and smiled. "I'm sorry, I have a dinner engagement tonight related to a case, so I can't make it." Then, "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow won't work. The day after?" "The day after that isn't possible either." Marcus Miller's eyes reddened, and he pleaded softly, "Eleanor, can't you give me another chance?" I replied, "Why? So you can cheat on me again?" "No, I swear I'll never be with another woman again. I can sign an agreement, if I cheat, all my assets go to you. I'm not interested in that. Besides, your mother is still waiting for a granddaughter, and my body can't bear children, no babies. We just need Ethan." Marcus Miller, thinking there was hope, desperately promised, "Once she graduates from college, I'll arrange for her to join the company. The entire Miller Corporation will be hers. We can go back to living happily ever after, just like before, all right?" I don't know when Marcus Miller became so blind and arrogant, as if I would surely be waiting right where he left me, should he ever decide to turn back. Unfortunately, no one is indispensable in this world, and not everyone is blinded by money. I still remember those suffocating days, his repulsive face, and how I was utterly alone when I had nowhere to turn. He was once my whole world, and when that world collapsed, I was nearly crushed. Now, I've lifted myself up with my own hands. These candies and roses can't tempt me anymore. I reached out, took a single rose, and sniffed it. It smelled so good, it couldn't help but lift my spirits. I looked at Marcus Miller, my eyes, I believe, bright and clear. "Marcus Miller, my life is wonderful now. I'm very content, and I don't need you to add any unpleasantness to it." With that, I walked away without looking back. I hadn't taken 2 steps when Alex Reed cheekily caught up. "A dinner engagement related to a case? Who invited you? Why don't I know about it?" "You did, of course. You're the boss, what's wrong with treating your best performer to a meal?" Alex Reed laughed. "You're right. Come on, boss is treating you to lobster. Oh, by the way, about the Northwood Case Commission, could you give me an extra %? You've already gotten quite a lot, I know, but last night when I came to you for a case strategy meeting, you were in a towel, which was quite improper and caused me physical distress. I demand compensation." "You're complaining about 8-pack abs, were there?" I distinctly remember seeing only one. The 2 gradually walked into the distance, leaving Marcus Miller to slowly lower the flowers behind them. His Eleanor seemed different somehow. No longer gentle, no longer serene, she was like a thorny rose, blossoming beautifully under the winter sun. He finally realized they could never go back. Epilogue 1. During Ethan Miller's freshman year, her father remarried. His stepmother, Sarah Hayes, was also an heiress, widowed in middle age, and forced into another marriage of convenience by her family. Having enjoyed wealth her entire life, she had little right to refuse. They coexisted indifferently, and the following year, she gave birth to a son. Ethan Miller's grandmother passed away the year before, missing the long-awaited granddaughter. His grandfather, however, was pleased and visited every now and then, but his stepmother, having heard of the Miller residence's past scandals, preferred he didn't visit often. Ethan Miller joined the university's top research group. She was the only girl among 8 members, under immense pressure, often collapsing from rushing to finish papers. What made her even more frustrated was that the most brilliant member of the group was a natural prodigy. He effortlessly solved problems that stumped everyone else. He could even extrapolate from them and optimize processes. At 1 in the morning, Ethan Miller hid in the hallway, venting to her mother, who found it amusing. "Sweetheart, no matter what you achieve, I'll always be proud of you. You need to remember that your group is already exceptional. Just do your best, have no regrets, and don't overthink things, okay? If it gets too hard, you can always come back, and Mom will support you." "I just won a case and earned a $200,000 commission." Ethan Miller was stunned. "That much? Mom, you're amazing. I think you're amazing too." Then, a faint murmur suddenly came from the other end. "Are you done yet? My arm's getting tired from waiting." All right. It was Uncle Alex. Hadn't Mom rejected him? Just as she was about to ask, her mother quickly hung up the phone. "Okay, Mom has to get back to a case now. Talk tea. Oh, you later." Even though her mother hung up quickly, Ethan Miller still heard her say, "Alex Reed, we're discussing a case, put your pants back on." Uncle Alex is quite something. After chasing Mom for so many years, he finally made a significant breakthrough. 3 years later, Sarah Hayes' child was also 3 years old and very fond of Ethan Miller. However, Ethan Miller disliked her father and paid little attention to her half-sister. After graduating, she stayed at the university as a teacher and bought an apartment next door to her mother. Uncle Alex's courtship plan seemed to be on hold recently. He hadn't shown up for over a week. Mom wasn't in a good mood, always looking downcast. So Ethan Miller encouraged her to boldly go to her boss's mansion. Mom hesitated for a moment, then that very evening, she rushed to Alex Reed's house. She found out when she asked that the reason Alex Reed had been giving her the cold shoulder for a week was because he had a tumor in his head. It was egg-sized, and they didn't know if it was benign or malignant. From the moment he found out about the tumor, Alex Reed had even planned his funeral arrangements. He even managed to joke with Mom, saying that after he died, she could find 5 toy boys to live in his $1 million mansion. Over the years, Mom's temper had flared up considerably, spoiled by Uncle Alex, but at this moment, she was incredibly calm. Her eyes red, her voice chillingly cold, she said, word for word, "Fine. When that happens, I'll invite 2 more handsome guys to come dancing on your grave." The surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. During those 3 days, Mom meticulously cared for Uncle Alex at the hospital. After the tumor was removed, it was sent for testing. Fortunately, the results came back benign. The day the report came back, Mom, holding a ring, proposed to Uncle Alex at his bedside. The man, despite his age, trembled with tears that day. After a moment, he proudly extended his ring finger. "Mom." The two officially tied the knot shortly after, and I casually made a social media post about it. Robert Hayes saw it and called me. "Your mother got married?" "Yes, she did. Congratulations." "Oh, is she happy now?" I looked at the two playfully teasing each other on the balcony nearby, and couldn't help but smile. I softly said, "She is doing very well. She always has been. Every woman who prioritizes self-love in her marriage will live a good life. Because they are not clinging vines dependent on men, but resilient desert plants with strong vitality, rising on their own even after a fall in the heat of summer, growing freely and boldly in the wind." Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.